What's going on, everybody? C4 here. We're back here again, finally, with our first Philadelphia Eagle news of the day, as they have signed former Pittsburgh Steelers nose tackle Javon Hargrave to a 3-year, $39 million deal, $26 million of that guaranteed. Adam Schefter reported that he became the highest paid nose tackle in the NFL, but obviously he's not going to play that in Philadelphia. He's most likely going to hold down that one tech, maybe flip in with Fletcher Cox on the 3 tech when he gets gassed a little bit, because we do rotate heavily. But a guy like Hargrave can definitely play any of the defensive tackle spots that we do rotate in and out, probably outside of the 7. And when you look at him, I mean, he's good. I mean, you look at the defensive tackles that were available in free agency, he's right up there in the mix for the best. I guess if you look at long-term players, you can't group in the guys that'd be short-term options like Snacks Harris and stuff, obviously still playing at a high level, but you can't really compare him to a guy like Javon Hargrave, who's in his prime at 27. They're different ends of their career, and therefore should be graded differently. But if we're looking at defensive tackles, I think DJ Reader I probably would have had. If we're getting a record-setting market for a nose tackle, I think DJ Reader, from at least that regard, I would have had him just a little bit higher on my rankings list. But, I mean, we're going to focus on Javon. We're not going to focus on who we didn't get at this position. We're going to focus on what we did get. And when you look at Javon Hargrave, if you look at the box score stats, I mean, he's a primarily run stuffer that was able to actually get a pretty good amount of pressure after the quarterback. Looking at 2018 and 2019, 2018, he had 49 tackles, 6.5 sacks, 6 TFLs. In 2019, he had 60 tackles, 4 sacks, 7 TFLs. So he's a guy that, while his responsibility on the Pittsburgh Steelers was always to, secure the run first and then look at, blowing up and exploding into the backfield, he still got pretty good production for a guy that was playing nose tackle for the Pittsburgh Steelers, which obviously he's not really going to play that in Philadelphia. He's going to be the 1 tech. But if we're looking at the box score, I mean, those are decent numbers. And then when you go in a little bit deeper, you look at Pro Football Focus, for whatever it's worth. Last season, he did have a pressure rate of 14.2%, which is only behind Aaron Donald and Chris Jones for the tops in the interior defensive line position. That was higher than Fletcher Cox, if we're just trying to grade it on a scale like that. So when you look at the Philadelphia Eagles last year, with Malik Jackson going down injury week 1, Son Ridgeway, who we just picked up going down hurt, and they kind of really liked him from the Colts. Our pressure, we had no pressure pretty much the whole season. No one was getting pressure. Fletcher Cox wasn't getting pressure. Brandon Graham had a couple big games here and there, but ultimately it was a disappointing season. Same with Derek Barnett, with injuries and everything in between. This defense, when you look at the secondary for the Philadelphia Eagles, we go bargain bin, budget in the secondary, because we expect our front 4 to be able to generate pressure, and it just wasn't there. And I think when you look at that number last year for the Philadelphia Eagles, one thing that you can't ignore is the injury to Malik Jackson. We paid Malik Jackson pretty big money to come over from the Jacksonville Jaguars, and what he does is get pressure. He is not a very good run stuffer. He's essentially like a big defensive end playing defensive tackle. He gets after the quarterback, and I think if he played, that would have kind of set the tone that, we would have got pressure and it wouldn't have been that big of an issue. I don't know if everyone else would have regressed or something like that, but you would have at least go and think optimistically that if Malik Jackson didn't get hurt, that pressure rate that was so frustratingly bad for the Eagles wouldn't have been nearly as bad. But it still exists as a thing that wasn't very good, and getting a guy like Hargrave, who was really good against the run, and also apparently was the 3rd best pressure rate from a defensive tackle behind 2 of the best D tackles in the NFL, and Aaron Donald and Chris Jones, you're getting a really good value. You're getting a guy that his strengths are exactly what the Philadelphia Eagles need. You get a guy that's going to be very enticing playing next to Fletcher Cox. Ben Solak made the tweet, and that's what it is. You get 1 tech, it's going to be Hargrave. You're going to have Fletcher Cox at the 3, and the 5 and 7 is going to be a combination of Malik Jackson and Brandon Graham. So that's a heavy rotation. That's a great rotation for the Philadelphia Eagles. And if we're just grading this on a player acquisition, if we're I understand that we trust Howie Roseman with the salary cap, we trust that we're still going to address the positions and needs somehow, some way. Javon Hargrave is a very talented player. I think that if I'm grading this on Philadelphia has added Javon Hargrave to the team, I'm giving a very strong B+. There's a lot of people that think Hargrave could have a breakout year next year, especially with the supported cast he's going to have here in Philadelphia. So that's great. I'm expecting him to hit the ground running. I like it. However, if we're grading this for the whole scope of what positions the Philadelphia Eagles need to prioritize, it's down the list. It is down the list. You would argue, you're not going to be able to, solve all your issues in free agency. You're not going to be able to sign all the big names in free agency. Like if you expect that, I mean, there's some people that are, younger fans, unrealistic fans It's just nature of the beast. I thought, we'll probably get Byron Jones and Robbie Anderson and stuff like that. Just spend top tier dollar. And that was never going to happen. But that doesn't exclude the fact that those were the premier positions that we need to look to strengthen. Outside corner, outside wide receiver, slot wide receiver, I guess. I don't know where they really feel about Greg Ward long term, even though, G. Ward probably can step in and fill that Aguilar spot. Now we need a swing tackle. Are we going to gamble on my lot? Now we're getting to those secondary needs. And for those secondary needs outside of corner and wide receiver, which are premier positions, top tier guys are going to cost a lot of money. That's where you add that next D tackle. Continue to beef up that defensive line. And the fact that we set a record-breaking deal for a nose tackle on a guy that's going to be heavily rotated in and out of the lineups. Now, everyone's rotated. Fletcher Cox is rotated out of the Eagles lineup. But depending on scheme, there's going to be a lot of times that you're going to be looking at this. If Hargrave ends up being this big final free agency signing for the Eagles, he's going to be on the sidelines and you're going to see Malik Jackson in there. Especially if, depending on the game strategy and stuff like that, there's going to be a chance that this big signing for the Philadelphia Eagles is going to be on the sidelines. And that's going to be frustrating for a lot of people, especially if we continue to underperform at corner and continue to underperform at wide receiver. Now, there's still a lot of unknowns. We don't know what's going to happen in the draft. We don't know what's going to happen for the remainder of free agency. There's still some nice corners out there. Logan Ryan, Chris Harris at wide receiver. I mean, again, I don't particularly want to spend a lot of money at wide receiver given the strength of this year's draft class. But, I mean, none of the wide receivers have gone. I mean, I don't want Amari Cooper, but he's still there. Don't really want to pay Robbie Anderson the money that he's reportedly supposed to be getting. Maybe someone a little bit bargain like Brashad Perriman could be a little bit better of a fit. Stephon Diggs trade, all these things could still happen. I just think the scope, when all is said and done, don't be surprised that when you feel like Philly's big splash move in terms of contract and big name getting out the blocks is Hargrave, when you see him on the sideline a lot because of the different packages that we're going to be using, it's just the scope of it doesn't feel good versus someone like, let's just say if we got Amari Cooper. I don't know why I'm throwing it out there because I don't want him, but Amari Cooper would be out there all the time. He'd be out there getting 100-yard gains, stuff like that, versus a guy that's going to be rotating in and out a lot and on a lot more than you would want to see what could very well end up being Philly's premier signing in this offseason. So overall, I'm going to give this a B-. I think it's a really good player. I think for the need, it was on the need list because we did not have a lot of D-tackle depth last year. Our defensive line was hampered with injuries, and Hargrave is a guy that has yet to miss a game. No injury history, let's speak of. And then, obviously wait till he comes to Philadelphia and starts missing a whole chunk load of games. But, it's just, you got to think about it from a football standpoint. You can't look at it as an Eagle fan that just desperately finally wants the wide receiver and corner situation settled. Because I know there's a lot of people that are shitting on this move. They're like, why do we need a D-tackle? Do not need a D-tackle whatsoever. But in reality, good young players that generate the pressure rate that a guy like Hargrave can bring, that is just entering their prime, that's going to be stacked around Fletcher Cox, Malik Jackson, and Brandon Graham. It's a solid move, and he's a very good player that's going to be going in a situation that he can excel. You just, there's just no way to block out the noise of where's the corner and where's the wide receiver, right? So as we sit here today, I guess all I can say is hopefully we can get, Stephon Diggs in a trade, or a lot of people saying, Darius Slay in a trade. These are all big money moves, but when you see what DeAndre Hopkins goes for, it makes you wonder that with all the draft picks Philly has, with the chance that really none of the wide receivers or corners that would make the impact that we really need a player to make will be there at 21. And the difficulty to trade up in that draft from 21 higher to get a Ruggs, a Judy, a Fulton. It might make more sense to make a veteran trade and get a Diggs, or to make a veteran trade and get a Darius Slay away from the Detroit Lions. So as we sit here, it's I don't know, man. It's not a bad move. It's a good player, and if I had to grade it, like I said, it's a B-. No, we'll go B. B-. Anytime you throw a minus in it, there's a negative stigma around it. It's a B. It's a really good player. And the way I could view it is if we didn't have a Malik Jackson. And Malik Jackson, he's 30. He's probably only going to be here one more year. And a guy like Hargrave, long-term, it's a longer play, could be the long-term partner for Fletcher Cox. Kind of what we thought Timmy Jernigan was going to be until he started, getting hurt off of team facilities and pissing everyone off in the building. But it's just if we didn't have Malik Jackson, this Hargrave deal would be a very strong B+, maybe even A- for how much upside he has. It's just the scope of what the needs are for the Philadelphia Eagles, and we just come out of nowhere and do the typical Howie Roseman thing and just continue to beef up the lines, which is not always a bad thing. It just might not have been the move a lot of people are expecting. So welcome to the Philadelphia Eagles, Javon Hargrave. Excited to see you out there on the field. Not the kind of sign that I'm going to be like, that's how I'm going to wrap it up. It's not the signing that it's going to make me go, I have to go get a Javon Hargrave jersey. And I think that a lot of Eagle fans are waiting for that player to come to town. The guy that's like, yes, hype, I'm buying his gear. But if we're going to be honest, how many times do the big hype money free agents work out? Not a lot. So only time will tell, and there's still a lot of time to go, and it definitely seems like Stephon Diggs wants out of Minnesota. I'd be all for that. And it's one of those things that we can't just get, shut all the doors and be like, well, this is it. We spent all our money on a D tackle. There's still a lot more time to play. And we'll be staying tuned here on the channel, keeping you guys posted. So, Eagle fans, let me know what you feel about this sign. I know Pittsburgh Steelers fans, from what I can see, are sad to see him go. They were to hope they could have re-signed him, so that's all usually a good thing. But that does it for me today, guys. Thank you for watching. As always, we'll probably be back tomorrow with a couple more videos dropping on the news and stuff like that. May have a special one-off rebuild based upon a trade that happened today. That will drop tomorrow. But that does it for me today, guys. Thank you for watching. As always, first time stopping by, don't be afraid to hit the subscribe button, special like button if you enjoyed. Until next time, it's C4 saying peace